Hey there, sports fans. How are you? I'm good, thank you. Just enjoying the sun on this 10 yards back on tour. With my predictions for round 16 of the Betfred Super League 2025. A good round, I think, coming up largely. One kind of disappointment, which I'll get to. But welcome to the YouTube channel, 10 yards back. If you want to listen to this instead of watching it, head over to Spotify, X, over there. If you like the videos, like them, on YouTube. Comment, let me know what you think. I enjoy getting those comments. Largely supportive currently, which is odd for the internet at large. Right, round 16. We got a couple of good games coming up. Let's have a look. No Thursday game this week. We're 3 Fridays, which I already said I don't typically get to watch the Thursday games with two kids anyway. But when it's 3 games on a Friday, I think that's a bit shit because Sky have this obsession with ruining the scores of the other games for you, so you can't really catch them up. You always, you can, but you always get the score ruined basically. So I end up just watching the TV with like something in front of you that's trying to block the score out, unsuccessfully usually. But anyway, Leeds versus Leigh, Warrington versus Hull, Hull KR versus Wakefield. I think they all should be reasonable games, them, to be honest. Catalan's Huddersfield, it's a good bottom of the table clash. Huddersfield on the resurgence. Catalan's looking for redemption, I guess. Castleford Wigan on Saturday as well. Saturday evening, which is nice. And Saints Salford on the Sunday. We'll get to that one. So here's what we have. 4v3 that Leeds League game, great. 8v6 that Warrington Hull, but it's tasty, that one. I like that one. I feel like Warrington and Hull feel like they're closer than they are, but there is a whole point in between them. 1v7 Hull KR versus Wakefield. It looks bad, but it's not. 9 versus 11, 10v2, 12v5. Those ones, the last two there, it's sort of hard to root for, isn't it? So let's have a look at this. Leeds v Leigh on Friday, I think, is probably the game of the weekend for me. I think you got 4v3. They've been going backwards and forwards for a couple of weeks now. Excellent French beer. They've been going backwards and forwards for a couple of weeks now. Leeds kind of leapfrogging each other. So this, I guess, will put that to bed for a little bit. People will look at that and say, "Oh, there's only 1 point in it," but it doesn't matter because it's actually very hard to get 1 point. So in this world of golden point, a draw kind of ends up they both sort of won in a way, because now Leigh are essentially a victory above Leeds, aren't they? Even though they didn't get a victory, they got a draw. And that's always going to be the case when you got 1 point in it. But at least if everyone can always draw, there's more likely to be 1-pointers. It's just a bugbear of mine. So 4v3, very similar in the points scored. Leigh are doing a little bit worse on points against, but like I said, it doesn't matter because the league points are kind of average that out. They're both pretty similar teams, except Leigh do tend to concede a few more points, or at least did early in the season, and then sort of came good. So this is on Friday. I think so. Last week when Leeds played Saints, they had this technique they were using. I think their game plan was essentially to try and scramble the Saints defence. They were doing really high, short kicks close to the line, which are sort of difficult to score from unless you've got really good pivots like Connor, Newman, Hanley, waiting. So the idea of that was to scramble the defence. I don't think they're going to do that this week, primarily because the Leigh fullback, Armstrong at the minute is scoring a lot of tries. He's a very active attacking fullback. So what I think they should do, in my opinion, anyway, instead, is to do a lot of early kicks. So like kicks on 4, probably not kicks on 3, but try to either try to catch him off guard, or at least to try to pull Armstrong out of the game a little bit. Because if you're always kicking early, that means the fullback has to sort of guess when to pull back, when to not. If it's not going to be on the 5, then the fullback can be in the line, getting caught out. I think Leigh are going to do what Leigh do. So both of these, so Leeds, I think at the minute are playing very fluidly. Um, they're like it sounds a bit cringy, but they're like a wave. It's very fluid. The ball will just flow in between the hands, but they can crash. The wave can crash if you slow it down. If you don't let them be like water, like a wave, then you can get the better of them, like Saints did last week, or like they did to themselves last week, rather, with all the knock-ons. So I think what we're going to get is those big forwards of Leigh, the Amones, Ipapes, Tessie New, all those guys, slowing play down, aggressive tackles, lying on, slow down the play of the ball at least. So that's going to be, or should be, Leigh's tactic here to sort of neutralise the attack, because you saw last week against Saints a couple of knock-ons here and there, and they don't really know what they're doing, Leeds, or at least it's much less effective than it has been. So ones to watch, my players to watch, I think, for Leigh are going to be, like I said, Armstrong in attack, Ipape, attack and defence, he's amazing, and Brad Dwyer in attack as well as those forwards I mentioned in defence. Leeds to watch, I think the names you're going to hear a lot from Leeds are Connor, Newman, Hanley. These are the players that really connect the spine together. There's an argument for Lackey Miller as well. You'll probably hear his name a lot, but I think personally Lackey Miller is he's a bit of a wild card. He's not super well connected like those other players are. So I've got this at 18-19. I think it's going to be really, really close. I think Leigh are just going to do it, and I don't really know why I think that. I think Leigh are going to just clasp this one. All right. Warrington versus Hull. So there are 5 league points in between them. So that's what, two and a bit victories in between them, which is why that 8 versus 6 is kind of tasty at this point. Warrington are just conceding too many tries. Now they played Wigan. They played Wigan in that game in Las Vegas, where they conceded a lot. They've kind of been up and down ever since then, really, which I know was like round 3. But recently, they've sort of run into a bit of bad form, but they have got Dufty back this week. And Dufty being back in itself is great, because he's a great player and he's good for the team. But what that does is it also frees the Thewlis brothers up. I don't think they're twins, I think they're just brothers. Frees the Thewlis brothers up to do what they do best. Josh Thewlis has been at fullback for the past couple of weeks, which he's sort of been a decent understudy, but he's not been perfect, which begs the question, why didn't Ratchford go at fullback? I don't know. I'm not Sam Burgess. So that's one side of it. The other side is there has been bad news out this week that George Williams has basically said, I don't care where I'm going, I'm just not re-signing for Warrington. I'm going somewhere else, probably the Dolphins, it looks like, in the NRL. Hull have everything they need on the pitch. Not the first 13, but they've got all of their chosen starters. I think what Warrington need to do is kind of what Castleford did a couple of weeks ago, and try to split that Hull defence using those wingers. And Dufty will help with that as well, because Dufty, he's got that spark, hasn't he? He can just run out of anywhere, in any direction, from any position immediately. So I think if Warrington can do that successfully, then they'll win. the ones to watch then in that vein for Warrington, Duffy, and the Thewlisses. I think it's very important that those three players are connecting on reading from the same hymn sheet and where they need to be. For Hull, I think it's the props basically SASA, Ashworth, and the rest, and also Rapana, with those very clever short plays that he does so well on the opponent's line. So I think that's what's going to need to happen here because Duffy's very effective fullback. I think the Warrington's defence will be on point, so they need to sort of get up there and attack the line. Like I said earlier in the season, Hull FC can really do that this year. I've got it 18-22. I don't think it'll be an arm wrestle. I think that Warrington will score a couple of really nice, comfortable tries, but I think ultimately it's going to be Hull FC's night because of that line play, that getting up there and just executing on the line. Hull KR Wakefield. Normally, anyone versus Hull KR is it's one of them where you try and break it down. And you're like, well, what can I do here? You know, they're going to win, and they likely are going to win this one. But nevertheless, it's going to be a good game because you're going to find out what Wakefield can do. They took on Wigan last week and were amazing. This is a tough run of games for everyone's wooden spoon. I mean, forget that. I'm going to stop saying that. For seventh in the league, even mid-table team, the champions and the runners-up from last year. Let's be honest. The current number ones, back to back. It's a hard run of games, but I think the interesting thing here is can Wakefield do something? And it's a no lose for Wakefield really, because if they don't do anything, if they get hammered this week, everyone's just going to say, "Oh well, it's Hull KR, great." So Wakefield can really, really play with this one. It's almost a freebie, right? I think if Wakefield are successful in this game, then Max Jowett is going to be man of the match. The reason I say this is one of Hull KR's strengths this season is people running awkward lines. James Batchelor is a perfect example of it. Maybe not even an awkward line, just not the line you thought he was going to run. Just run it, sneaking behind the ruck, catching the soft shoulder of the defender. They're really, really good at that, and it makes people like Broadbent, Batchelor, Lewis almost just stride over the line because they're so good at picking those lines. I think what Jowett needs to do is marshal the troops from the back in defence to make sure that everyone is where they need to be, i.e. where he thinks they need to be, and also he needs to roam a little bit to be able to mop up anything that any defenders missed. It's a tall order for Max Jowett this week. He didn't have his best game of the season last week, but I think he's an excellent player. So my ones to watch then on this for Wakefield, Jowett. I'm interested to see what Lino and Truman can come up with together, because last week they made a real good halfback pairing. I think Hull KR are so switched on defensively that they'll have studied this pairing and they'll know all about it. But Truman's only played like 4 or 5 games all season, so hopefully he's a little bit of a question mark. So my ones to watch for Hull KR then, I mean it's pretty obvious, but I think that Morg will play a really good role in this game. As almost like he's almost like a pivot that it's like an extra pivot, isn't he? Because he's the current fullback, but he's a really good attacking fullback, but he's always there in defence as well. So he's quite a utility guy. I think Morg is going to play a big part in this game, and Broadbent as well, being that connection to the wings. I think all three, both those people, and the halfbacks, I've got should really take seriously where they place the ball on the field, because Wakefield are going to be up for this and they can do it. That being said, 28-18. I think that Hull KR will get off to a good start, and Wakefield will come back. I think it's going to be an exciting final 20, but the first 20 is probably going to be one-sided to Hull KR. Okay. Dragons versus Giants. I think this is low enough in the table to be competitive. I hope it is. Giants are trying to do something now, aren't they? They're trying to just finish 10th, 9th. 9th would be amazing for the Giants at the minute, given that they've lost everything so far. I mean, you look, Dragons have won 3 more games than them, which isn't that many, really, in the grand scheme of things, because they've had a terrible run recently. They've lost the last 6. 3 of those were nils. One of them, there was only 1 try scored versus 68 points. So the Dragons have been getting trounced. I think it's going to be slow. It's going to be an arm wrestle. Huddersfield needs to not do anything too fancy. I think they need to play the game, play the forward battle that we all know about, that we know Catalans are capable of, and just bide their time and wait for those wingers to come into it. Makinson, Kotrick. I mean, I've got my ones to watch here for the Giants are basically all forwards. We've got Wolford, Burgess, Cudjoe. These 3 guys are going to have a massive impact on the game. I think Wolford at hooker needs to be the general on the field, basically. I think that the halfbacks, yeah, they can kick. The halfbacks can kick wherever they want to, wherever they feel necessary. But I think in terms of who's getting the ball and what play are we doing here, where are we going to run, I think that needs to be Wolford's decision here, as sort of the leader of the forwards. For Catalans, I've got Makinson, GAB, and Kotrick, because I think Huddersfield can still get taken by surprise by this, especially if they're engaged in that battle and then it gets flipped out to the wings. I've got 2018. I think it is going to be close. I'm going to put a stipulation on this, though. It's 2018 to the Dragons if GAB is at fullback. This is Guillermo Aspiro Bichet. If he's at fullback and can quickly return kicks and do what he does best, then the Catalans Dragons will win. If he's not, if Tompkins is at fullback, I don't see them winning this. That could be reversed. It could even be Huddersfield by a better margin than that. Cass v Wigan, Saturday evening. Nice time to watch a game of rugger. I think this is probably like a Castleford thing, isn't it? That their ground is just available Saturday evenings. This doesn't look likely. I think both teams, the psychology of both teams will be affected, because everyone's just saying, it's Wigan's mid-season slump. It's fine. Yeah, they'll lose a couple of games. But I mean, look at that. Wigan have got 3 times as many league points as Cass have. That can't be understated. That being said, Cass did beat Hull FC a couple of weeks ago. In a good showing. I think the key to this, and Wakefield sort of showed us this last week without being so explicit, because you can't just do this. You kind of have to do other stuff. So, the key to this is the second row. Whoever's second row is more effective in this game has the upper hand. Doesn't mean you can win, but it gives you a lot of freedom. So what I mean by this is, if Cass can shut down Wigan's second row, then that not only stops the go forward that people like Nsemba and Farrell can do. Those guys can make 40, 50 metres with the ball on their own. But it also then limits Wardle and Kieran, and then the wings as well. Similarly, with Cass, if Wigan can close their second row down, then they can't do anything. Now, For Cass, it's less of a big deal, but most of Cass's tries this year have come from the wings. Yes, okay, you've got kicks, you've got kick returns, which Cass are pretty good at as well. That's how they score tries. But I think for me, the story of this game, this Castleford Wigan game, is going to be the second row. So I've got it at 30 points to 10. Wigan over Cass. I think it's just too much, isn't it? I mean, look, the points, Wigan's points for is more than Castleford's points against. And I can't really see it happening. So for Cass, I've got Wards to watch, Mellor, Griffin, Westerman, and then also the sentence on the outside of those. Wigan wants to watch Wardle and Kieran. I think they're going to have a big impact there, both in attack and defence. Just watching the wings. Closing out the weekend, then another Sunday, another Saints versus Salford Sunday afternoon match. There's no point in going through this again. I don't think. Saints have got 9 times as many points. Last time it was 3. Castleford Wigan. This is 9 times as many points. Salford have just cracked 100 points scored for the season. I don't really know what to say about this. 46-6. We know how this game goes, and maybe I'm wrong, and it's really exciting, and something weird happens. But we saw this game 2 weeks ago. It's the same side, albeit there's a number 55 now for Salford. The team sheets aren't even out. Not that I would know what to do with Salford's team sheet on who to watch. I think for me the frustrating thing about this, not just the fact that Saints are playing Salford 3 or 4 times this year now in very quick succession. It's that Saints going through what they're going through, selection headaches and stuff. They're just using these games as a way to get points difference. And I think there's a much more valuable lesson to be learned there, especially like you could put on players, you could try stuff out. They're not doing it. They're not making it that entertaining, really. 46-6 is roughly what it was last time. I don't really see why it wouldn't be the same again, if not more. Come on, Salford. Prove me wrong. That'd be great. I mean, Salford did Salford 20 minutes. The first opening 20 minutes of the game against Hull FC was outstanding from Salford. Really did something, both attack and defence. And then it went a little bit the way you would expect it to. All right. So this is what we got. I'm predicting Leigh, Hull, Catalans, Wigan, and Saints the victors for the weekend. So let's find out. If you disagree, if you agree, let me know what you think in the comments below. If you don't want to comment below, you don't want to watch this anymore, head over to Spotify, follow me on X, and enjoy round 16.